Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn have heartfelt moment backstage on SmackDown. Hold on a second. WWE just gave us one of the most genuine, most emotional, and most important backstage moments of the entire year, and if you're not paying attention to what just happened between Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn on SmackDown, you're missing a story that could define both of their legacies. But here's what's going to make you absolutely furious: mainstream wrestling media is ignoring this moment, focusing on drama and controversy while completely overlooking the kind of storytelling that actually matters to long-term fans. This wasn't just two guys having a conversation, this was a masterclass in character work, emotional depth, and the kind of genuine connection that reminds us why we fell in love with wrestling in the first place. Let me ask you something right now, and I want you to be completely honest in the comments. When was the last time a backstage segment actually made you feel something real? Not just excitement from a beatdown or shock from a betrayal, but genuine emotion that connected with you on a human level? Comment with the moment and the year, because I'm willing to bet most of you have to go back years to find something that hit like this Cody and Sami moment just did. Here's what happened on SmackDown, and I need you to understand the context that makes this so powerful. Cody Rhodes, the WWE champion, the man who finished his story at WrestleMania, the guy who's carrying the company on his shoulders every single week, was backstage after a brutal segment. He was exhausted, he was clearly feeling the weight of the championship and everything that comes with it, and you could see in his eyes that being the guy isn't as easy as everyone thinks it is. And then Sami Zayn walks into frame. Now, you have to remember the history here. Sami Zayn knows what it's like to chase a dream that seems impossible. Sami spent years fighting to be taken seriously in WWE, years being told he wasn't good enough, years wondering if his moment would ever come. And then at Elimination Chamber in Montreal, Sami finally won his first singles championship in WWE in his hometown in front of his people. Sami understands struggle, he understands doubt, and he understands what Cody is going through better than almost anyone on the roster. The conversation that followed was incredible because it felt real in a way that WWE segments rarely do anymore. Sami didn't come in with a scripted promo or a rehearsed speech. He came in as a friend, as someone who's been there, and he just talked to Cody like a human being. He acknowledged that being champion is hard, that the pressure is immense, and that it's okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes. And Cody? Cody opened up in a way we rarely see from WWE's top babyface. Here's a question that I think is crucial to understanding why this moment matters. Do you prefer wrestling segments that feel real and emotional, or do you prefer segments that are more theatrical and dramatic? Comment real if you want more genuine moments like this, or theatrical if you prefer the big dramatic segments. This is about what kind of storytelling resonates with you. The vulnerability that both men showed in this segment is what made it so special and so rare in modern WWE. Cody Rhodes admitted that there are days when the championship feels like a blessing and days when it feels like a burden. He talked about the pressure of being the face of WWE, the responsibility of representing the company, and the fear that he might not live up to everyone's expectations. That's deep stuff that we almost never hear from WWE champions. And Sami's response was perfect. He didn't try to give Cody some motivational speech about how he needs to be strong or how he can't show weakness. Instead, Sami shared his own struggles, his own doubts, and his own journey of learning that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. He told Cody that the fact that he cares so much about living up to the championship is exactly what makes him the right person to hold it. This is the kind of storytelling that creates real connections between wrestlers and fans. When you see someone at the top of the industry admit they have doubts and fears just like you do, when you see vulnerability and authenticity instead of just superhero posturing, it makes you invest in their journey on a completely different level. This is what separates good wrestling from great wrestling. But here's what's absolutely infuriating me about how this segment is being received. Go look at wrestling Twitter, go look at the major wrestling news sites, and you'll see that nobody is talking about this. They're all focused on the latest drama, the latest controversy, the latest shocking angle. Meanwhile, this genuinely beautiful moment of character development and emotional storytelling is being completely overlooked because it doesn't fit the narrative that everything has to be extreme and controversial to matter. Question for you, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this: why do you think wrestling media ignores emotional storytelling in favor of drama and controversy? Comment with your theory. Is it because controversy gets more clicks? Is it because emotional moments don't create the same viral potential? Or is it something else entirely? The acting in this segment from both Cody and Sami was phenomenal and deserves way more recognition than it's getting. These aren't just wrestlers reading lines, these are performers who are bringing genuine emotion and authentic vulnerability to their characters. You could see it in their eyes, hear it in their voices, and feel it in the way they were connecting with each other. This was real acting, the kind of performance that would be praised in any other medium but gets overlooked in wrestling because we're so focused on moves and moments. Cody Rhodes has always been an underrated actor in wrestling. People focus on his in-ring work and his promo skills, but his ability to convey emotion through subtle facial expressions and body language is top tier. In this segment, you could see the weight of the championship on his shoulders just from the way he carried himself. You didn't need him to tell you he was struggling, you could see it. And Sami Zayn? Sami has always been one of the most emotionally intelligent performers in WWE. His ability to connect with audiences, to make you feel what his character is feeling, is unmatched. In this segment, Sami brought all of that talent to bear in creating a moment that felt like two real people having a real conversation, not two wrestlers executing a scripted segment. Here's a performer appreciation question: who do you think is the best actor in WWE right now? Comment with your pick. Not the best wrestler, not the best promo, the best at conveying genuine emotion and creating authentic character moments. I want to see who the wrestling newsletter community thinks deserves recognition for their acting ability. The themes explored in this Cody and Sami segment are universal, and that's part of what makes it so powerful. The pressure of expectations, the fear of failure, the struggle to live up to your own standards, these aren't just wrestling issues, these are human issues that everyone can relate to. Whether you're a WWE champion or someone working a regular job, we all deal with doubt, we all deal with pressure, and we all need someone to tell us it's going to be okay sometimes. That universality is what great storytelling is all about. When you can take a specific situation like being WWE champion and extract universal human emotions from it, you create something that resonates with everyone, not just hardcore wrestling fans. This is the kind of segment that could be shown to someone who doesn't watch wrestling and they would still be moved by it because the emotions are real and relatable. This also speaks to something that WWE sometimes forgets: not every segment needs to end with someone getting attacked or a shocking reveal or a dramatic twist. Sometimes the most impactful segments are the quiet ones, the ones that focus on character and emotion instead of spectacle. This Cody and Sami moment proves that you can have a just talking segment that's more engaging and memorable than any number of beatdowns or betrayals. Do you agree with that statement? Comment yes if you think WWE needs more emotional character moments, or no if you think wrestling should stick to action and drama. I'm genuinely curious where the community stands on this because it affects what kind of content WWE prioritizes going forward. The history between Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn adds so many layers to this moment that casual fans might not even realize. These two have been on parallel journeys in many ways. Both left WWE and found massive success elsewhere, Cody becoming one of the biggest stars in independent wrestling in AEW, Sami becoming a critically acclaimed performer all over the world. Both came back to WWE with something to prove. Both had to fight for their WrestleMania moments. Both achieved championship glory against incredible odds. But their paths were also different in important ways. Cody's return was met with fanfare and immediate positioning as a top guy. Sami had to claw and scratch for every bit of recognition he got. Cody's journey to the WWE Championship was a featured storyline that WWE built everything around. Sami's championship win came as part of someone else's story before he was able to make it his own. Those different experiences inform how they see the world and how they can support each other. There's also the simple fact that Cody and Sami are both good people who respect the hell out of each other. In an industry that can be cutthroat and competitive, it's refreshing to see two top stars who genuinely want each other to succeed. That real-life friendship and mutual respect comes through in segments like this and makes them feel authentic in a way that you can't fake. History question for you: what's your favorite Cody Rhodes moment in WWE, and what's your favorite Sami Zayn moment? Comment with both. I want to see what moments from these two incredible performers have stuck with the wrestling newsletter community the most. The reaction from other wrestlers to this segment has been overwhelming, and that tells you everything you need to know about how special it was. Multiple WWE superstars have posted on social media praising this segment, talking about how much they loved the vulnerability and authenticity. These are people who are in the business, who understand how hard it is to create genuine moments like this, and they're all recognizing that Cody and Sami did something special. Even wrestlers from other companies have been praising this segment. That's how you know something transcends company loyalty and speaks to the art of wrestling itself. When performers from AEW, Impact, and independent promotions are all saying this is what wrestling should be, you know you've created something that matters to the entire industry, not just WWE fans. The fan reaction has been similarly positive, with one important caveat: the fans who watched it loved it, but not enough people are watching it. This segment hasn't gone viral, it hasn't been shared across social media the way it deserves to be, and that's a problem because it means amazing storytelling is getting lost in the noise of everything else happening in wrestling. This raises a critical question about modern wrestling fandom: are we, as fans, part of the problem when it comes to good storytelling not getting the recognition it deserves? Comment we're the problem if you think fans need to do better at supporting good storytelling, or media's fault if you think it's more about how wrestling is covered than how fans engage with it. Let's talk about what this segment potentially sets up going forward, because I don't think this was just a one-off moment with no long-term implications. WWE is planting seeds here for something that could pay off in really interesting ways down the line. Maybe we're building toward Cody and Sami as a tag team. Maybe we're setting up a scenario where Sami helps Cody through a crisis of confidence. Maybe this is laying groundwork for a future feud where the friendship gets tested. Whatever direction WWE goes with this, the foundation they've laid is solid. They've established that these two have a genuine bond, that they understand each other on a deep level, and that they'll be there for each other when things get tough. That's the kind of relationship building that pays dividends for years in wrestling storytelling. And here's the beautiful thing about this segment: it works on multiple levels. If you're a casual fan who just watches for entertainment, this was a nice moment between two babyfaces. If you're a hardcore fan who knows the history, this was a deeply meaningful conversation between two wrestlers whose journeys mirror each other. If you're someone who appreciates good acting and storytelling, this was a masterclass in performance. It works for everyone. Prediction time: where do you think this Cody and Sami relationship goes from here? Comment with your prediction. Will they team up? Will they end up feuding? Will this just be a one-time moment that gets referenced but never followed up on? What does your wrestling brain tell you is coming next? The contrast between this segment and what else was happening on SmackDown is stark and really highlights different approaches to wrestling storytelling. On the same show, you had big dramatic angles, physical confrontations, and all the typical wrestling chaos. And then you had this quiet, emotional conversation between two people who respect each other. Both types of segments have value, but the quiet moment is the one that's going to stick with people long term. Think about the wrestling segments you remember years later. Are they usually the big dramatic angles or the quiet character moments? For me, some of the most memorable segments in wrestling history are the ones where wrestlers just talk to each other like real people and let the emotion speak for itself. Mick Foley and The Rock having a heart-to-heart. Daniel Bryan's retirement speech. CM Punk's pipe bomb to some extent. These moments resonate because they feel true. This Cody and Sami segment belongs in that conversation. 20 years from now, when people are looking back at this era of WWE, this will be one of those segments that gets highlighted as an example of wrestling at its best. It won't be the most watched or the most talked about in the moment, but it will be remembered by people who appreciate genuine storytelling. Legacy question for you: what backstage segment or talking segment from WWE history do you think will still be remembered and celebrated 20 years from now? Comment with your pick. I want to know what moments you think have the timeless quality that makes them last. The writing for this segment deserves recognition because whoever put this together understood something fundamental about good dialogue: less is often more. This wasn't an overly scripted segment with flowery language and rehearsed speeches. This was two people having a conversation using natural language and realistic pacing. That's how you make something feel authentic. WWE's writing has been criticized a lot over the years for being too scripted, too corporate, too unnatural. But segments like this prove that when WWE wants to, they can write authentic, emotionally resonant material. The question is why they don't do it more often? Why is this the exception rather than the rule? Part of the answer might be that segments like this require the right performers. Not every wrestler can pull off genuine emotional vulnerability the way Cody and Sami can. Not every wrestler has the acting chops to make a just talking segment compelling. You need performers who understand the assignment and have the talent to execute it, and Cody and Sami are both in that elite tier. Performer capability question: which other WWE wrestlers do you think could pull off an emotional, vulnerable segment like this? Comment with your picks. I want to know who else in WWE has the acting ability and emotional intelligence to create moments like what we saw from Cody and Sami. The cinematography and production of this segment was also on point and contributed to the emotional impact. The camera work was intimate without being invasive, the lighting was naturalistic, and the overall presentation made you feel like you were witnessing a private moment between two friends. WWE's production team doesn't always get credit for their work, but they absolutely nailed this segment. The way they framed the shots, with both Cody and Sami in frame for most of the conversation, created a sense of connection and equality. Neither man was dominating the screen, they were sharing the space as equals, as friends. That visual storytelling reinforced the emotional content of what they were saying, and the decision to let the segment breathe, to not rush through it or cut away to something else, showed trust in both the performers and the audience. WWE was saying this matters, and we're going to give it the time it deserves. That's a level of respect for emotional storytelling that we don't always see in the fast-paced world of WWE programming. Production appreciation question: what's the best produced segment or match in recent WWE memory? Comment with your pick. I want to celebrate WWE's production team and hear what segments you think they absolutely crushed from a technical standpoint. The broader implications of this segment for WWE's storytelling philosophy are worth discussing because this could represent a shift in how WWE approaches character development. For years, WWE has prioritized spectacle and shock value over emotional depth. But segments like this suggest that maybe WWE is starting to understand that you need both to create well-rounded, compelling programming. The best wrestling shows have always balanced action and emotion, spectacle and substance. You need the big matches and dramatic angles to create excitement, but you also need the quiet character moments to make people care about why the action matters. This Cody and Sami segment is an example of WWE getting that balance right. If WWE continues to incorporate more segments like this, moments that focus on character, emotion, and authentic human connection, it could elevate their storytelling to a whole new level. Imagine if every major feud had at least one segment like this, where you really got inside the characters' heads and understood their motivations and feelings. That would be revolutionary for WWE. Philosophy question: what's more important for good wrestling storytelling, exciting action or emotional depth? Comment action if you think the physical stuff is most important, or emotion if you think character work and feelings are the key. Or comment both if you think you can't have one without the other. Let's talk about what this segment means for Cody Rhodes' championship reign specifically, because I think it's really important for establishing him as not just a champion, but as a fully realized character. Too often, WWE champions become these one-dimensional figures who just cut promos about being the best and defending their title. But Cody is being presented as a three-dimensional human being with doubts, fears, and vulnerabilities. That depth makes Cody more compelling as a champion, not less. When you see that even the guy who's on top of the mountain has struggles and insecurities, it makes you root for him even harder. You want to see him overcome those doubts. You want to see him succeed not despite his vulnerability, but because of his willingness to acknowledge it and work through it. This is also setting up future storylines in really interesting ways. Now that we know Cody struggles with the pressure of being champion, a heel could exploit that. Now that we know Cody has doubts, someone could try to amplify those doubts to get in his head. This segment has given WWE's writers so much material to work with going forward. Championship character question: who's been the most interesting WWE champion from a character perspective in the last 5 years? Comment with your pick. Not who had the best matches or who was the most popular, who was the most interesting as a fully developed character. The Sami Zayn side of this segment is equally important for his character development because it positions him as a leader and a mentor figure in WWE. Sami has always been portrayed as a good guy, but now he's being shown as someone who can guide and support others because of his own experiences. That's a really valuable role in any locker room, real or fictional. This also elevates Sami's status in subtle but important ways. When the WWE champion comes to you for advice or support, when the top guy in the company sees you as someone worth listening to, that says something about your standing in the hierarchy. Sami isn't just another wrestler, he's someone who's earned respect and whose perspective is valued. And from a storytelling perspective, this gives Sami a clear character role that he can occupy even when he's not in the championship picture. He can be the guy who helps other wrestlers through tough times, who provides wisdom and perspective, who serves as the emotional heart of the locker room. That's a valuable position that can lead to all kinds of interesting storylines. Character role question: what's your favorite non-wrestling role that a wrestler has played in storylines? Comment with examples. The mentor, the therapist, the voice of reason. What character roles add the most value to wrestling shows even when they're not directly competing? The timing of this segment is also interesting when you consider what's happening in wrestling as a whole right now. With multiple companies competing for attention and trying to create viral moments, there's pressure to constantly escalate and shock audiences. But this segment proves that you don't need to constantly escalate to create something meaningful. Sometimes the most impactful moments are the simplest ones. This is a lesson that all wrestling companies could learn from, not just WWE. AEW, Impact, NJPW, everyone is so focused on the next big surprise or shocking turn that they sometimes forget the value of emotional, character-driven storytelling. Wrestling at its core is about making people care about the characters and their journeys. Everything else is just window dressing. The fact that WWE, the biggest wrestling company in the world, took valuable TV time to air a segment that was just two people talking and supporting each other is actually really bold in the current wrestling landscape. They could have filled the time with more action, more angles, more commercial-friendly content. But they chose to air something that was emotionally resonant instead, and that's commendable. Industry-wide question: which wrestling company do you think does the best job with emotional, character-driven storytelling? Comment with your pick. WWE, AEW, NJPW, Impact, or someone else? I want to know where you think the best character work is happening in wrestling right now. The social media presence of this segment has been disappointing but also revealing about how wrestling content gets consumed in the modern era. Segments that are dramatic, controversial, or easily clippable tend to go viral. Segments that are emotional, nuanced, and require full context don't spread as easily. That's not a criticism of fans, it's just the reality of how social media algorithms work. But that reality creates a problem for wrestling companies trying to tell deeper stories. If emotional segments don't get the same social media traction as dramatic segments, there's less incentive to produce them. The metrics say drama equals engagement, so why invest in emotional storytelling that won't blow up on Twitter? The answer is because the fans who do engage with emotional storytelling are often the most loyal, most passionate, and most invested fans you have. These are the people who stick with wrestling through good times and bad, who buy merchandise, who attend shows, who spread the word to their friends. Catering to them might not create viral moments, but it builds long-term fan loyalty. Engagement question: how did you find out about this Cody and Sami segment? Comment your answer. Did you watch SmackDown Live? Did you see a clip on social media? Did someone tell you about it? Did you read about it in an article? I want to understand how content like this spreads through the wrestling community. Let me pitch you a scenario based on this segment, and I want you to tell me if you'd be interested in seeing it play out. Imagine Cody Rhodes faces a crisis, maybe he loses the championship, or someone he trusts betrays him, or he goes through a losing streak that makes him doubt himself. And Sami Zayn is the one who helps him through it, who reminds him of who he is and why he does this. Eventually, Cody gets his confidence back and returns the favor when Sami goes through his own struggles. Would you watch that story? That's the kind of long-term, emotionally resonant storytelling that segments like this make possible. When you establish genuine relationships between characters, you can tell stories that span months or even years and have them feel organic and earned rather than forced or artificial. The payoff doesn't have to be immediate either. Sometimes the best storytelling is the kind that plants seeds early and lets them grow over time. This Cody and Sami moment could pay off 6 months from now, a year from now, or even longer. Wrestling fans have long memories, and when you do finally pay off something that was set up well in advance, it feels satisfying in a way that quick, hotshot angles never do. Booking timeline question: how long do you like wrestling storylines to last? Comment with your ideal time frame. 1 month? 3 months? 6 months? A year? How long does a feud or storyline need to run to feel complete without overstaying its welcome? The accessibility of this segment is also worth mentioning because you didn't need to know years of backstory to appreciate it. New fans could watch this segment and understand the basic idea: two friends supporting each other through difficult times. That's universal. But longtime fans who knew the history got even more out of it. That's the perfect balance for wrestling content. Too often, WWE creates segments that either pander to new fans by ignoring continuity or cater exclusively to longtime fans by being impenetrable to newcomers. This segment worked for everyone, regardless of how long they've been watching or how much history they know. That's masterful storytelling that all wrestling companies should aspire to. The lesson here is that good character work is always accessible because human emotions are universal. You don't need to know every detail of someone's career to understand vulnerability, friendship, doubt, or support. Those feelings transcend wrestling and connect with people on a basic human level. Final big question before we wrap this up: on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn backstage segment? Comment your number. 1 means you thought it was pointless and boring, 10 means you thought it was one of the best segments of the year. The bottom line is this: Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn just gave us a masterclass in emotional storytelling, authentic character work, and genuine human connection on SmackDown. This is the kind of segment that reminds us why we love wrestling, why we get invested in these characters, and why emotional depth matters just as much as physical action. If WWE continues to incorporate more segments like this into their programming, if they continue to trust their performers to show vulnerability and authenticity, if they continue to value emotional resonance alongside spectacle, then we're in for an incredible era of WWE storytelling. This Cody and Sami moment is a template for what wrestling can be at its absolute best. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter for more deep dives into the storytelling and character work that makes wrestling special. Hit that like button if you appreciated this segment as much as I did, and turn on notifications so you never miss when we break down the moments that truly matter. Share this video with every wrestling fan you know who appreciates good storytelling, because segments like this deserve to be celebrated just as much as any dramatic angle or shocking betrayal. Let's show WWE that we value emotional depth and authentic character moments. Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn just proved that sometimes the most powerful moments in wrestling are the quiet ones, the genuine ones, the ones that make you feel something real. This is what wrestling should be, and this is what we should be demanding more of. Let's go!